was called by my dad and told, hey, we've had something on news, someone has been shot in town. And it sounds like what we've been told, it's a gym.
I am medical. I could do something to help if this boy is still alive. Where is he? That we will cooperate with the investigators as much as possible.
I remember speaking to him on the Monday that he died, just before he went to university.
That's when my life was clear. It was like a glass falling from your hands. The lovely glass, it broke. I cried more than I cried.
A tall, slender guy, you know. I think the girls liked him too. He was a nice-looking guy.
There were guys like Kamunde who were basically untouchable. They were flying squad officers and they were low unto themselves.
The motorist turned out to be a USIU third-year student and son to leading cardiologist Professor Peter Odhiambo.
A university student is shot and killed in the central business district. Police brand him a notorious carjacker. It will later emerge police had killed an innocent young man. Tonight on Case Files, part 1 of Our Son Jordan starts now. The second week of February 2015, masked men gunned down a sitting member of parliament along Uhuru Highway, Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. Kabete member of parliament George Mushai was killed in cold blood heading home from a night out. Exactly 18 years ago, along the same highway, a similar killing occurred just after 9 p.m. as residents of the city made their way home from the day's work. But the killing was carried out by law enforcement agents. James Hilary Angawa Ocholo Odhiambo, a fourth-year student, was shot dead by police officers. At the time of the killing, the capital was weighed down by cases of armed robberies. Dominic Obala, a young crime journalist at the time, says the dreaded Flying Squad unit was a notorious police unit, but also a ruthlessly efficient one.
Carjackings were at its peak. The Flying Squad had its hands filled. Four-wheel drive vehicles were being stolen a lot. And I guess it is for that reason that around that time there was the establishment of Flying Squad. Flying Squad actually is an acronym for Anti-Motor Vehicle Theft Unit.
The story of James Hilary Angawa Ocholo Odhiambo starts here. A family home in the outskirts of Kisumu town that the young man nicknamed the Summit. A corner in the small garden has been set aside as his resting place. Penina Ochola, the mother of the 24-year-old business administration student at the United States International University, spends most of her time here. Mama Penina, as she's fondly referred to, says the mausoleum in honor of her son is her favorite working place, a place where she speaks to her son whose remains have been here close to 2 decades now.
I would come home and find at the doorstep shoes. I go to the sitting room. The crowd, they are watching football or basketball. You know, you don't even ask. I just go upstairs, do my things upstairs, and then come back. Jim, how can you do this to me? Mommy, it's only once in a while. Teased me a lot. Mama never knew anything. According to Mommy, you don't know. I don't know, not to say that I am stupid, but he wants to take over what I'm doing. Mommy can do it for you. Do you know I almost forgot how to drive?
Jim was not the only child of Penina and Peter, a leading and only heart surgeon in the country at the time. His older sister Jacqueline Adhiambo says her younger brother was something and everything.
My brother was a bit of a spoiled brat in the sense that my mother and I really, doted on him because, he was our little brother. I mean, he was my little brother and he was the only sibling I had. But he was a very loving brother. If something happened to you, for example, you're playing and then you fall and you hurt yourself, he would be the first one to try and treat your knee and check if you're okay and everything. And then he was mommy's boy, very much so. So if you did something wrong, just be knowing that he's going to report you. Yeah, he would report you immediately. Even by the time my mom is getting to the gate, he would have already reported you.
At the time the Odhiambos were staying at the city's Ngumo estate, the father, Peter Odhiambo, told Case Files the young James Ochola was a hands-on child.
Jim was like a precocious child in the sense that he could cope with a lot of things in his youth. Knew how to make friends, yes, but was able to actually participate in adult things, interacting with his seniors very smoothly, at the same time doing what he needed to do as a young person or a child going to school and making it.
Among his peers, James or Jim was a popular man. When Jim was not in the house helping out in the kitchen, the man with a long frame and a towering presence was out playing his favorite sport, basketball.
Very neat. I traveled a lot. When I came home, I would find he has reorganized the sitting room. I want to kill him. And he said, Mommy, you don't like space? Just look at how beautiful it is. Then I walk upstairs. He has also messed my bedroom. The bed is now facing where? He says, that's how it should look like. You have too many rooms. You are cluttering the room. That's the neat boy. But he could cook also. Jim could cook.
All was well for the Odhiambos. Jacqueline was in Europe pursuing her studies. The mother had traveled to London for an international conference, and the father was in Nairobi busy saving lives as a surgeon. But all that changed on the night of the 27th of July 1998. The Kenya Television Network interrupted normal programming to broadcast a major breaking story. Professor Peter Odhiambo says he was in the office when he received a phone call from a family member.
But I got a call from my sister-in-law, his auntie, younger sister to his mother, who told me they've just seen a clip on the KTN news. Actually, it was some program going on, just about news time, but the station interrupted the program that was going on and focused on this particular incident because they had shots.
The Kenya Television Network KTN was airing live pictures of a middle-aged man lying on the cold tarmac near the GPO roundabout.
So I just stood up. And it's a short distance, but I drove to the site. There was nothing. There was no sign. Anything having happened. Not even a sign of blood. We couldn't even see literally anything. So we said, well, it's near enough. Let's go to the Central Police Station.
The young man had been shot dead. Next to him was a motor vehicle sprayed with bullets. KTN was now reporting that police in the city had gunned down a carjacker. The alleged robber's body had been moved and his supposed stolen vehicle had been towed to Central Police Station. It appeared that at the time the dreaded flying squad unit had stopped a robber in his tracks.
When we reached the Central Police Station, at the counter, we were told, I asked, I'm coming here as I'm so-and-so. I'm coming here because I've been told there's an accident that has taken place, some shooting. Then they asked me a few questions, including was the number of the car, and I said, yes. Then they told me, yes, the car is here. It was behind the station already. Then I said, I am medical. I could do something to help if this boy is still alive. Where is he? They told me, well, we will let you know, but we want to actually call our senior, the OCS, to come and give you the information.
It was now becoming clear that James Ocholo Odhiambo had been shot. The family had no idea where the 24-year-old student was. They had no idea if James was dead or alive. Coincidentally, when flying squad police officers were gunning him down, a university van was right behind him. The father says, as the night grew on, so were the questions coming from James Ochola's fellow students.
In a few minutes, many other friends, family and fervent friends, actually started coming home to the station. They found us there. The crowd swelled very quickly. Now the same question, where is the body?
The central police station had now been turned into a media scene.
By the time the OCS comes, we were now taken to OCS and duty officer. We were taken to a room upstairs for a brief. Then the stories went left and right. This is what has happened, and they were not telling us much in terms of where he was.
Thousands of miles away in London, Penina Ochola told Case Files something was troubling her, but she could not place a finger on this thing.
So that Monday, I was in a foul mood. I wasn't even attentive. We were in a conference, and everybody noticed that I was in a bad mood. I didn't know what was coming, but I was in a bad mood. This day he was going to die. He only wanted a pair of shoes. He even drew it for me. And Mommy, don't bring anything else. Just bring me that pair of shoes. So that's the pair of shoes I bought. The night was, actually I bought the shoes at 7:30 p.m. UK time. And somehow I looked at the clock. I don't know why I looked at the clock. It was 7:30. From that moment, there was confusion. I went to the bus stop. I was on the wrong side of the bus stop. I went to the conference hotel where we were staying. I ordered food twice, and I couldn't eat the food because I had no appetite. It means at home things were happening.
James Ochola's older sister Jacqueline was preparing for a first trip home after a long time away.
He requested for a linen suit. I mean, I suppose that's just the law in him. He wanted a linen suit, white or cream. And he kept asking me to watch Boys to Men, because he was saying, I want exactly like the one in Boys to Men. So I remember that very evening rushing to the shops, because the shops were closing at about 9. So I rushed to town to buy the suit. So I got the suit, and of course he never got to see the suit.
Cases of carjackings in the city were on the rise during the time Jordan was gunned down in the central business district. Police were grappling with the new market of stolen vehicles across in Tanzania. Was Jordan a victim of a rogue police force? Case Files takes a short break.
This is KTN News.
This holiday season, treat your loved ones back home to the best entertainment. Buy a StarTimes decoder and enjoy 100 plus top quality and affordable channels.
Like Professor Hamo, you too can start living the star life. To start enjoying action-packed sports channels on Stardish, just call 0719 077 000. StarTimes, change your view.
Zakayo. Nyum, umepigwa na bibi tena? Sio leo. Natoroka deni ya kanjo. Deni gani? Sijalipa land rates, niko na penalties na interest. Nikirudi kwangu, wataniweka ndani. Hujasikia hii story?
Worry no more.
The Nairobi City County has now extended the 90% waiver on penalties and interest to all land rates until 31st August 2016. Take advantage of this extension and pay for your land rates through our cash office at City Hall or pay via the Nairobi City County Revenue Account, Cooperative Bank, City Hall branch, or via our EGG Pay platform *217#. Nairobi County, the city of choice to invest, work, and live.
Sisi sote washindi, tumekuja kushinda game. Kule Kisumu, kule Mombasa, Nakuru, Nairobi, Eldoret, Machakos, Kenya mzima. Oh, that's a brilliant goal. Let's go. Tumeona sisi sote washindi, tumekuja kushinda game.
Champions unite with Betway.
This is KTN News.
As the country woke up to the news of the highway gun drama, James Ochola's mother was waking up from a deep sleep 8,000 miles away in London.
Slept deeply, and I was woken up at 7:30 a.m. by a cousin of mine from the UK. We had been together on a Sunday, and we liked joking. So I said, "Why are you calling me so early in the morning?" So she says, "Well, I just wanted to wake you wake you up just in case you still have the hours of Kenya. This is London, man." She's still joking. And she says, "A message has come from home. They say you must go home." I said, "What has happened?" Jim had an accident. I tell her, "No, Jim is a very good driver. Somebody must have knocked my son." Asked her, "Where is he?" "He's in Nairobi Hospital." My cousin calls again. Says, "Shall I come for you?" I said, "No, the office has already organized. I'm going to the airport." And she did it. I had her sniff and see if she's crying soberly. Doesn't want me to hear, but I got her. So I asked her, "Medusa, Natima Nota, has my son died?" And she answered, "Yes."
Newspaper headlines narrated how gallant police officers stopped a stolen motor vehicle and the man who had stolen it. But the family and the USIU administration will hear none of it. To them, Jordan, his nickname on campus after the famous American basketballer Michael Jordan, was not a criminal. He was an innocent man killed by a rogue police force.
As a family, maintained our position that we will cooperate with investigators as much as possible, as long as they are on course towards unraveling anything that could shed light on this particular issue.
The police will tell me what they're apologizing for. I still don't understand what they're apologizing for.
In tow was the media that had first reported that a carjacker had been shot dead while driving a stolen vehicle.
The next morning the newspapers flashed the frontline news that a thug hijacking a car had been shot by police. We left the station after 5 a.m. These things are coming by daybreak. So you can imagine how far the cover-up had already started. But then we now had our story. The next day, we now had the real story with a picture on the front line, the details of the family, and the actual event as narrated by the police themselves.
we specifically relied on reports from what was given from the police, without necessarily having to verify it from other quarters. Then that is, I believe that is how we got it initially wrong, because we depended on information that was given to us by the police.
The police version of events marked of impunity. The police department claimed it had received information of a motor vehicle that fitted the description of the vehicle James Ocholo Odhiambo, or Jordan, was driving the night he was gunned down. 3 flying squad officers gave chase and caught up with a slain student, shot at the motor vehicle in self-defense, so they claimed.
Apparently, information that came out, what the flying squad said then was that there was a report of a carjacking. And when they tried to stop the young man, he sped off. So the catches started from Mombasa Road, just near Guru Nanak Hospital. Later on, there were also rumors that the report had been made by a female whose motive was not known. Initially, there was rumor that it might have been a jilted lover, because she was never presented, never featured in the investigations, as it were.
But the family had a different version of events. The Monday James Ochola was gunned down, he had spent time repairing a computer in the house. A vehicle he normally used to school had a mechanical problem, and instead decided to use the family's Land Rover. James will later in the evening drive to school for evening classes at the United States International University in Kasarani. James will later leave class some minutes to 9 o'clock that fateful night. James will use Thika Road, where his colleagues spotted him before entering the Central Business District.
The Puyo that he goes to school with was broken down. He had no choice but to take this one to school. Remember, prior to that, he had warned them never to drive this car. When they come, just throw the key at them, don't look at them. Please teach you.
But James Ochola did not live to tell the mother how he faced his killers. On the Monday night, they opened fire on him. The father was the first family member to arrive at the city mortuary, where the son's body was lying. Told case files his jovial and active child was a tired man.
Looking at the body, you could think there was no blood in that body. It's as white as paper. He had bled, must have bled profusely, both internally and externally. And my own bitterness was that I was there early enough. If it was a question of blood, and I told him as a medical person, I can actually harakisha something to make sure that we save him. That, to me, remains a bitterness.
Neatly dressed boy, like he always liked his jean shirt, jean trouser, and he looked rather tired. And I still was very strong at that point. I would play with his legs. When he was small, I used to call him Big Lego. They would play with the legs. I'd ask him, Big Lego, what happened? And I just turned to the father. Said, why is he looking so tired? He looks so tired. The father said, because he bled so much. That's what killed him. That's what killed him. My son bled so much to the point that he's looking, his eyes sunk, like he's dehydrated.
It was now clear that the police version of events on the night the fourth-year student died were not adding up. Police could not explain why they gunned down an unarmed suspect.
But even when he came out, they had already shot him. They had already shot him from the back. Actually, they shot the driver's seat. So he's coming out already limping and putting his arms up. But they're still shooting him. So he fell on the ground.
Questions from the family and the media kept on piling up on the police department. that kept at it that James Ochola was a carjacker killed in self-defense.
Taken identity also was added on top. There were two stories. One, that a car had been hijacked. Another one, which was not quite given a lot of prominence, but actually did a bit of circulation in community around, was that the identity was mistaken because somehow we don't even know today that they were looking for somebody else. Unfortunately, it didn't carry any water. But the name that came off was, oh, Honorable Arun Moore was the one being looked for. Oh, the cars had similar shapes and everything, and the numbers were almost identical. Nobody bought that.
If James was not armed at the time of the shooting, why did the police open fire? An inspection of the family vehicle showed several gunshot holes on the body of the family car. Of concern to the family is a bullet entry that shattered the rear window of the car, hitting the backside of the driver's seat before it ended up in James Ochola's back.
When a policeman shoots somebody and hurts them badly, critically, fatally, do they not take them to the hospital? This was not done for my son. Do they not seek medical certificate of death to confirm by a medical person that here is somebody who is actually dead? This was not done.
Unable to produce the man who made the initial call to the police over the alleged carjacking incident and unable to explain why they opened fire on the USIU student, the government caved in to demands from the family and the school. James Ochola was laid to rest at his family home in the outskirts of Kisumu City. The distraught family was left behind mourning the sudden departure of a family member. Several months later, the government acted. For the next 2 years, the focus on the police department and the family seeking for justice. Giving in to public pressure, 3 police officers were arrested and charged in court with the murder of the USIU student. Surprisingly, the family entered into a private deal with the prosecution. Case Files, Our Son Jordan, continues next week.